Welcome back to another episode of the Digital Wrap Up. My name is Riley and I am the host, and I am the CEO and Digital Director of Harden Digital and Design. Looking forward to today's episode. We're going to be talking about graphic design again. I'm going to bring Kaylee on and talk about some color combinations to avoid when you're designing. And we'll have Kaylee's mix of bad ones, and then she'll throw in some of her favorites that you can use whenever you're designing, whether for web or print, whatever it may be. But before we get into that, I want to briefly talk about our new subscription program for the Digital Wrap Up podcast. It's something new from Buzzsprout, which we use to host our podcast on. And now you can directly support the show with a monthly monetary donation to the show. It's a subscription fee, like if you're paying for a subscription on Twitch, for those people who are familiar with Twitch, or any other subscription fee, Netflix, Amazon, whatever it may be, but just a small monetary fee to support the show. It goes directly to Digital Wrap Up and supports things like paying for the hosting service, buying the equipment, the mics. Just bought new mic and a new camera so that we can have guests on the show and not just use one camera or one mic. So it just goes to support those type of fees so that we can continue to make and produce podcasts every week and get them pushed out on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever you're listening or watching this to. So if you want to support the show, if you really enjoy the content, you can go to bit.ly/digital wrap up. That's bit.ly/digital wrap up. And the D in digital, the W in wrap, and the U and up are all capitalized. So again, that's bit.ly/digital wrap up. And if you aren't watching on YouTube and you'd rather tune into this episode on YouTube, you can go to youtube.com/@HardenDigital and see our smiling faces as we talk about some design concepts, color concepts, and I will probably be completely schooled and not know anything about design and colors. So looking to learn something today as we talk with Kaylee. So I think that should be all of the housekeeping notes. Again, just really appreciate the support, everybody who's listened and followed over the past year, little more than a year now, and just looking to take the podcast to the next level with everything we're doing for the YouTube channel now, producing all the videos as well. It's just a time-consuming process. It's something I enjoy, obviously, or I wouldn't keep doing it, but starting to grow the show more and hopefully bring some more value to you as well as listeners. So I think that's it. Let's go ahead and bring Kaylee on and we can talk about some color combinations. So welcome, Kaylee.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm less nervous this time than I was last time.
That's good.
So that's a good start.
Your third episode on the show.
Yes.
So it's something that you just get used to the more that you do it. I was nervous the same way whenever I first started, and then I was nervous all over again whenever we started doing the video version of it. So
yeah, the video throws me off, but
yeah,
that's okay.
It's different, but thank you for joining me. I know it's something, since we brought you on and offer graphic design services now, it makes sense to talk about graphic design things on the podcast, as well as the social media and business side of things that I often talk about. So that's one thing that we're going to be doing more over there's no time frame, I guess, over the lifespan of this podcast. We're going to be talking more about graphic design, tips and tricks, things to avoid, different topics like that with Kaylee, who brings a lot of experience to the podcast. And so hopefully you can learn a lot from her, whether you're an amateur designer or you're a social media manager who creates graphics in Canva and could use some best practices. We should be able to touch on a lot of those in the podcast. So for all of you aspiring graphic designers, you can now tune in, and hopefully we have an episode at least every other episode, maybe once every 3 episodes. Kind of, we'll just not setting a specific schedule of design versus social media or anything, but yeah, I think I approached Kaylee with even, let's start another podcast about specifically graphic design because we just have all the time in the world. But
that's a lot.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
And committing to a regular schedule for a whole separate podcast, it's not worth it. So we're just gonna include everything here because the title is Digital Wrap Up, and a lot of design stuff now is digital. So most of it, I would say.
Yeah.
So today, specifically, though, we are going to talk about color combinations to avoid when designing, whether digitally for the web or social media graphics, or for print as well, if you're making flyers, postcards, whatever it may be. So I guess this is, everybody's seen those, just, you see something that's like, those colors look terrible.
Awful.
Why would you ever think that? I think just let's jump right into it. Do you have one that's just like, wow, this is terrible, it makes me want to puke? Like, what's your biggest one?
My worst one, I think it's because when I drive through towns and they have all those, when I drive through cities and they have all those flags along the side of the major roads for like advertising this business here, for some reason, every single flag is always yellow on red. And that is like cringy to me. I don't know why that's the most popular color option, but it's like every business. It's not even food. Like, I understand like McDonald's colors are red and yellow.
Yeah.
Like that one actually is understandable. But it'll be like a Verizon Wireless thing, or some completely random tech business has a red and yellow flag. Like, why does everything have to be yellow on red? And it's the same the other way. If the flag is yellow and red, like, I don't know if it's just like, it's bold. Yes, I will give you that. It is bold. You will see it, but it doesn't look great to me. I also think I might just have a problem with red.
Maybe.
Because I also have red on black on my list. And that one I think applies mostly to web.
Yeah. But, so I didn't know any of these color combinations before coming in, what she was going to talk about. And I don't want to throw a business specifically under the bus because they're really good to me. But I'm going to show Kaylee. This actually just came out yesterday. It's a whole new product that they just released. And she's probably going to just hate
no.
it. Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
So.
It's yellow.
Bright yellow with red. And then, oh, geez. Well, you mentioned black and red. Too.
Okay, see that?
Black on, or red on top of black.
In apparel, that makes sense to me. That seems really sporty.
Yeah.
I think it's different when it's different mediums. Like, for some reason, websites, though, people always want to have red text on black backgrounds.
Oh, geez.
And there's no way on earth you can read that.
Yeah.
Like, that makes... I'm not the youngest out there, but I'm not the oldest either. And that's just impossible to read. So...
Yeah.
But the yellow, oh my
gosh. And
I
definitely agree with the, I don't know, flags, I guess is what they're called.
Yeah.
The things that are in the ground and like hook up.
Yeah.
And blow in the wind. Promotional banners that stick in the ground. I don't know. But it's not just like they're a muted or not so bright yellow and
like
red. It's always neon
up.
Yellow and red.
Yes.
Just like clashes really bad. So.
If any of you live near Muncie, like, I have a specific memory of when this started bothering me. It's driving down McGalliard through Muncie, and like every 10 feet is just a giant red flag. So that one for some reason sticks out to me all the time of just not a good color combination to use. There's no reason ever on a website you would use yellow text on red background.
No,
So I
that
don't
would
know
be
why
bad.
then in print that seems to be a good idea. But
Yeah, I didn't think about it that way. I guess that is one way if you ever like, well, most design stuff that people who are listening are probably doing digital anyways.
Yeah.
But just think of it, how would this look on the screen, or how would this look printed out? And then if you think, oh gosh, that'd be bad, then okay, it's going to be bad on whatever you're designing it.
There's hardly any time I would vote for using yellow text.
Yeah.
I mean, your shirt has yellow on it, but it's a dark background, and that makes sense.
It's a black.
Yeah.
So
I guess there's an exception to everything I'm going to say today.
Yeah.
So don't take it all with like, these are the hard rules. These are all my opinions. That's the beauty of it being our podcast, I guess. So, I get to decide.
if you're looking to design a flag and it's red, that's probably a red flag not to do that. So there's my dad joke for the day. So yeah, yellow and red, bad combination. Black and red, depends. Red on black, not terrible. So what's another one on your list?
Combination, I have pastel colors, just them combined together. There's not enough contrast. I think people assume around like springtime or Easter or
the pink and blue shirts or dresses.
Yes, you can't read that. And I guess in my head,
I don't know why I defaulted to apparel there.
Because that's what you see all the
pastel,
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm kind of defaulting to having text on a background.
Oh, okay.
Because like pastel colors for a shirt, you can have just colors like pastels next to each other. That's fine.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to read something, I guess that's where my brain goes. Of if there's not enough contrast between this lavender and this pink, how are you going to be able to see that? So I maybe just don't love pastels. Once again, this is my personal opinion. But color combination, like there has to be a contrast.
So when you're dealing with pastels on a design, then can you mix in, a more solid bold color?
Oh,
so you
100%.
have a pastel background or something like that.
Yes.
Make the text a bold color.
Yeah.
Or I don't necessarily not bold, but
dark.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can do pastels. Like on my other list of color combinations, it says black with anything. Like you can do pastels. The whole background could be a giant splatter of pastel colors. And then the text can be black. Like, it's fine to combine them that way. I have no problem with that. I'm not against ever using pastels. It's just using them as the only contrast is not going to do you any good.
I can see that one. I don't know why I just defaulted like, oh, pastel shirts. Because I actually do know why, because I was immediately thinking, well, I have a pink pastel shirt and she's calling me out for it. But
no, you can do that. But if then you tried to use a lavender embroidery on it, it wouldn't show up. So
that's true. Okay, so next one after pastels.
Next one is primary colors together. So we're still back on that red and yellow.
Yeah.
But it also is going to be a blue and red or a yellow and blue. Like, I think for some reason people default to primary colors, which if you're not a designer and those are the colors red, yellow, and blue, like they're bright, they're bold, you can see them. But like if you tried to put blue text on a yellow background on a website, people would go insane.
Yeah.
It is bright. You are getting your point across that, hey, I want you to see this.
But people
but then you can't read it.
Throwing up on their computers trying to read
it. So it's like that. I've done magazine covers where whatever photo is on there has like, let's say fall colors. And then the editor will ask me to make all the teasers like red and yellow. And then the big Madison, I'm calling him out, I guess. We're committing. Well, I've already said it. But then he'll want the Madison to be blue. I'm like, why do we have to only use red, yellow, and blue? Those colors don't have anything to do with this cover, but they're bright. So
And I think even that holiday edition.
That's on my list too.
Okay. That one was bad. They're like throwing in yellows or something.
It's just
bad.
I think people just want to go for bright colors when they're trying to advertise or get people's attention, but not thinking about that's not the most aesthetically pleasing.
Just turning people away.
Right.
When they see those.
And there are plenty of schools that's a yellow and blue, like Carmel. They're yellow and blue. I'm sure everything that they design is yellow and blue.
Yeah.
So it's not like you can't do that. It's just
finding the right yellow and blue.
There's certain scenarios, like school colors. Yes, those are supposed to be
different shades of it, or different color codes of it, not just the brightest yellow, the brightest blue.
Yeah.
Having some cohesion there probably helps things. 'Cause, yeah, like you think of Carmel and it's kind of just normal, and it doesn't
bother me for a school, but for some reason then on a website, if I had a blue, even the other way of a blue background with yellow text, I wouldn't even look at it.
Honestly, for websites, you should never. Ideally, you should have white as the background. There are some websites that look fine, darker backgrounds or non-white, but then, in my opinion, white backgrounds with black text, no matter what your colors are, for your business, that's the way to go. And then you can mix in like a blue for the headers or a red for the headers, whatever it may be. But the overall design should just always look clean. Boring is good on a website in terms of text color and background. So.
And whenever I see something that's the opposite, I'm like, man, they must have not updated this since the beginning of the internet or something. Yeah. Because back in the day, like in my web design class in college, our very first assignment was like copying this and coding it. And that is not my forte. I throw that out there, but it was blue with yellow. And I remember that now, 12 years later. So that one, the primary colors in general are not great to be used solely as your only color combination.
Yeah.
So that's on there. And then I also put Christmas colors. And I think I talked about this on the last episode I was on of red and green. I just can't. For a lack of a better explanation, they are opposite each other on the color wheel. They have a lot of contrast. That's great and all. But red and green is not a good color combination. I can't handle it. At Christmas time even. I don't even do a red and green tree. I am fully against those two colors together. So
I honestly like red and white as Christmas colors better than red and green.
Yes, or green and white, or green and silver, or there are so many other options. Actually.
Red and silver differentiates it from Valentine's Day, and it still looks good. So I think our tree this year was red and silver.
Have you noticed a theme here that everything I hate is red though?
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
And I have nothing against red. I don't.
It's just a weird color to design.
It is not the way to go, apparently. And it might be that I'm in the middle of doing a website where everything is red. So that might be throwing me off.
If you're watching on YouTube, you'll see that Kaylee's shirt is actually red.
It is. This is maroon. It's darker. Okay. It's not like fire engine red.
Yeah.
I have
red example.
Also, I look good in red, so... See, I think apparel is a whole different universe because you can have a red shirt with black on it and it looks fine, but you put that in a design and it looks crazy.
Yeah.
So.
Fair enough. Moving on.
My last, I think I kind of combined a lot of those things together, but my last one on there is just pink with anything. And that I'm pretty 100% sure is just me not liking pink.
Yeah.
But I've read up over the years on color theory and when in advertising to use certain colors and what each color means. And pink is not a strong color. Pink is not a bold color. It's very timid, and I don't really know how to explain it, but I just feel like it's never going to give you, unless it's Valentine's Day or you're doing something super girly, it doesn't give enough pop for what I like. I don't know.
Yeah.
And it might be, I think in my head I'm referring like specifically to like more pastel-y pink.
Yeah.
Because our gooseberry color is hot pink magenta.
Yeah.
And it sure is bright, but it also doesn't go well with anything. Nobody on our staff wants to wear hot pink. Like, so I don't, difficult. Maybe that's also why I'm against pink, is I've seen it so much. But it's hard to design things around pink. So
yeah. I mean, you're really, ideally, if you had to use pink, you're really stuck with white or black as a secondary color for it.
For gooseberry specifically, since they're one of our clients, they do a hot pink.
Our aunt.
And our family. But they do hot pink and a really light pink and then a lime green. Mm-hmm. It's like fluorescent green. Which all three of them together looks good. Mm-hmm. But you cannot do two of them. You can't do green on pink. You can't do pink on green. You can't do you can almost do the light pink on the dark pink.
Yeah.
But like as combinations, you have to do all of them with white. So
yeah. A lot of white text on the graphics you make for social media. I know that.
Yeah. So that's also on my yes list. I have black with anything and white with anything. Black is the way to go. If I could just do black and white everything, I would.
Yeah, because people will love that.
It looks sharp. Like, I really enjoy whenever, this has happened twice recently with new logo clients I'm like, okay, what do you want your company colors to be? They're like, well, I want it to be black. I'm like, that is a given. Like, there is going to be black no matter what. Like, that, when I'm asking you what you want your colors to be, black is not thrown in there because that's a given to me.
Yeah.
So, if that's all you have in your head is that you want black, you're going to have to think on that a little bit more.
Black and white.
Black and some color.
Yeah.
So, black always looks clean and always looks sharp. You could do all black and white and it would still look professional. So, and that's maybe just because that's the biggest contrast you can get.
Yeah.
So contrast is important in these color combinations.
All right. So that was the list of ones to avoid. A lot of good info there. I am probably bad at paying attention to these type of colors when I do create graphics for social media, but I guess let's move on to, you've already talked about a few of them, but your list for color combinations that you really like that aren't necessarily super common ones or that people don't just see all the time.
Yes. So this also has to do with the magazine cover situation but I do it with social media graphics, I do it with flyers. If there's a photo that works perfectly for whatever you're trying to show, advertise, use for something, and all the colors in it are in the orange family, you can take your little eyedropper tool and pick out colors specifically out of the photo that are going to match with the photo. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if that's necessarily a combination, but I wrote it down as far as matching with the art.
Yeah.
Because there's no reason for the text that you're using to be the complete opposite of what matches.
Yeah.
So that I spend a lot of time picking out specific colors to match cover photos on magazines. Mm-hmm. And for people to just be like, no, I want yellow. Like,
yeah.
What? That doesn't make any sense, but okay.
When all the other color in the photo is orange.
Like sometimes there is a purpose and a place for contrasting just for the sake of contrasting. But for me, having things match, I will specifically not put photos in a brochure or on a website if the colors in the photo don't match the rest of the brochure.
Yeah.
Like, it's gonna stand out. It's gonna look stupid.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not really a combination, but it was really
It's a
important
good
to
tip.
me to
Yeah.
throw out there that if your company colors are blue and gray, and every single photo you put on there has like bright red fire trucks in it, like that is gonna clash and it's gonna look crazy. So you have to like think of the tone of the art to figure out which colors you want to go with it.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. And I think sitting here listening to Kaylee talk about these, I would be in a world of hurt if, when I started Harden Digital a few years ago, if I would have chosen red as my color, which Kaylee actually designed the logo. She wasn't a part of Harden Digital back then, but she designed the logo initially too and picked out the colors. And blue is my favorite color, so that's why I went with blue. But I imagine if it was red and you were where you are today being our creative director, you probably would hate yourself for picking red and having to, like you see if you're watching on YouTube, youtube.com/@HardenDigital, the banner across the bottom here is blue. And if that had to be all red right now, you'd probably not be happy.
I mean, I could handle it because there wouldn't have been a choice. But even back then, I would have told you to not go with red unless you were just dead set on it.
Yeah.
Because, well, once again, there's a lot of color theory going on and color psychology, and blue is a trustworthy color. Blue is more techy, more digital. Red is really aggressive.
These are all things I thought about when starting the business back
I'm
a few
sure.
years ago.
But when people do start new businesses,
honestly, that is, yeah.
Like,
so don't do what I did and not think about it.
Just be like, my favorite color is blue.
Yeah.
I mean, it worked out in your favor for this scenario. But I also know people who their favorite color is purple and they wanted a purple logo, even though it made zero sense whatsoever.
Yeah.
And so I did it, and now they're stuck with it. But like in certain industries, we did the logo for the construction company, and they were trying to put it on, fluorescent orange construction shirts.
Yeah.
So you can't put a blue logo on a neon orange shirt. That's not going to show up. So you got to think about your uses of where you're going to put these colors ahead of time.
Red.
just don't use red, people. That's what I got for you. But I also have on my list jewel tones, which Ryler's like, what in the heck are jewel tones?
Yeah, so I said I didn't see this list before, but I did glance at it on the desk right before walking in, and all I saw was jewel tones. I couldn't even read what tones was. So I was like, jewel tone. But I was like, what the heck are jewel tones? So for people dumb like me, what are jewel tones?
Jewel tones I've assumed that, I'm not even going to assume that that's a thing for women who buy clothing, but that would be who would know. But jewel tones are like your emeralds and your rubies and your darker colors, navy blue, like a deep purple. So it's basically the opposite of pastels. Okay. So those are the colors I gravitate to. Like your shirt. You mentioned that my shirt is red, but this is a dark color. So I look better in jewel tones. It matches my skin. I tend to gravitate towards that in design because it's darker. And that may just be my kind of style, is more...
Not so in your face.
Not bright. I don't do a lot of stuff that's bright. I like it to be deeper.
Cooler colors.
Cooler colors would be more just like blues and greens, which is fine.
Dark, cool colors.
Dark. I like dark. I don't know. That's just who I am as a person, maybe. I'm not really sure, but that's on my list of color combinations that I like. And you can do like a deep purple with then like a lighter purple of the same color. So like You can do shades and tints of all
Yeah.
one color and keep it monochromatic, and that looks great. I do that a lot. You can even do that with if you're just doing black and gray. Like, it'll just be one color, but different shades and tints of the same color, and that's always going to look good.
Yeah.
So I should have put that on there as monochromatic, but
Yeah.
on the scale.
Question: is there such thing, this is probably going to sound dumb, as using silver on a digital design, or is it really just gray?
It's just gray.
Okay.
You can put effects on it.
To make it, the silver comes in from the shininess.
From the effects, yeah. You
Okay.
can do gradients, like you can make things look like chrome,
Hmm.
but it's really just shades of black.
Well, yeah, that's what gray is.
Yeah,
But,
so it's just how you put effects over it.
yeah.
There's no like silver, at least, like you can paint things silver,
Yeah.
but you can't just like, I don't even know how to explain it. Silver is not like
A color.
a color.
Yeah. That's
So,
fine. I was just thinking the darker colors like maroon or dark purple and silver, I think look cool.
Yeah.
But then you can't. It's really just gray. So, yeah. Anyways. Are there more to the list?
I have on there neutral colors, and that might be just because gray is popular right now.
Yeah.
Gray and grayish, and all the different colors of tan and beige and brown. That's always been popular, like in homes, to keep it neutral.
Mm-hmm.
But now people are doing gray on gray everything, and it looks sharp to me. Like, that looks good.
Yeah.
If you've
Oh, I just kicked the... Nope, you're fine.
messing up my camera here.
Ooh.
So you can do a dark gray and a light gray, and that's going to look professional to me.
Yeah.
I would rather you have your whole website be gray than your whole website be red. In every scenario, I think gray looks nice. Gray looks good on apparel. Gray looks good in kitchen cabinets. Gray looks good as a printed,
Postcard.
anything printed.
You have a lot more flexibility. Because then if you do have one of those crazy colors as your primary color of your business, like a bright pink or whatever, you can use gray. Again, it's like white or black.
Yeah, it's kind
It's
of...
the combination of white and black. Duh.
It's just always going to look nice.
But I think gray, if you don't just want text on a white background for a graphic or something, make it a shade of gray and use colored text, and it looks a lot better than white background or definitely all black background.
Yeah.
So.
And for anyone designing anything ever, the least amount of colors you use, the better it's going to look.
So how many should you stick to? 3?
3, like,
Nice.
I would pick like black. I personally would do like black and white in a color.
Yeah.
Or black and 2 colors.
And you can mix those up, and it doesn't always just have to be black background, white text with
A color.
You can do a color background with black text and another accent color mixed in.
Right. You can do accents like, what company? With the Boys and Girls Club, they had like a percentage of their designs that had to use this main blue.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have your secondary colors. And then they had a whole tertiary list they had a lot of color choices. But they're like, if you're going to use this random orange color that's like 5th down the line, you can only use that in 3% of the design. IU does that with their style guide.
Yeah.
It'll say like, this crimson color right here has to be like 80% of the design, and then they've got a yellow, and they've got a green, and they've got a purple, I think.
Interesting.
We just did the Keller Williams.
Yeah.
They had a red, and then they had specific grays that are their branded colors.
Yeah.
So theirs was all black, white, red, and gray, which I don't hate.
Yeah.
When it was a darker red, it's not like.
But it's not just all red on black or black on red. It's
right. Red is like the accent color.
Yeah.
So in that case, it was mostly black and white and gray with some red.
Yeah.
And then the artwork that you choose to go with it is going to be in that range, I guess.
Yeah.
So you're not going to make everything look super pastel and light when your main color is red.
Yeah. And we just designed, or not we, Kaylee just designed booklets for one of our clients, one of the Keller Williams agents. And we're going to be posting graphics of those so you can kind of see what they look like with that white, red, and black color combination. So,
like I said, there are exceptions to everything I've said today.
mm-hmm.
Like, my last one on my color combos list that I like is orange and purple, which in Zero Universe, do those two colors go together?
Yeah.
They have been my favorite colors since forever. I happened to go to a university that was the colors, which was completely by chance. But then, like, the flowers I plant at my house, I will try every year to try and get something different. And I always end up with orange and purple. Like, in my head, that's just my go-to.
I like orange and blue, too.
Orange and blue, I think, is harder to read. So anytime they're right across from each other on the color wheel, they have all the contrast. So it's obviously a good combination. But I don't love orange and blue for some reason. But orange and purple, man.
Interesting.
I don't know why.
I do like Evansville. One of the purple aces.
Yeah.
I do like that color.
But those two colors, like, it's like bright orange and bright purple. So once again, because it's a school, that makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
In my everyday design, I would use more like a deeper purple and a more warm purple.
Yeah.
And a less obnoxious orange.
I think what we should do for a future episode, kind of piggyback off of this one, is you should find your least favorite and your favorite college or university color schemes. And then we can just break them down. Because I'm sure there's some hideous ones out there.
I'm 100% sure. I already know, like, because I worked in Anderson and you live in Anderson, that their high school colors are red and green.
Oh, yeah.
And I can't handle it, man. I'm telling you.
It looks bad.
Because on every shirt ever, then everything is red and green.
Yeah.
And it looks... See, in that scenario, I would pick blue and yellow over red and green any day. Yeah. So I even have, like, a range on the bad combos. I have levels of, okay, this is still acceptable compared to...
Yeah. And I really do think it's more about how you use the two colors together. If it's just two primary colors competing, you don't mix any white, you don't mix any black, and it's just literally everything that is associated with your business or your school is just those two colors and no other accents or anything. It's just not good.
Crazy.
I mean, technically, I think our logo or our color scheme, there's a darker blue and a lighter blue. I tend to use the lighter blue on most things, but we do have two different shades of blue, and then obviously everything is white pretty much with our logo. So,
and because white is clean, when in doubt, for people who are using Canva, if you're using Canva ever and you can't figure out what to do, just do a white background.
Yeah.
Don't be trying to put a photo and then put all this text on top of a photo, plus have all the text be different colors. I will scroll straight past that on my Facebook. Like, I'm not even going to try and pretend that I'm going to read that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's maybe sounded really a lot more judgmental than I meant for it
That's
to.
okay.
But
you have to think about that kind of stuff when you are, because everything you have to capture people's attention in like really a half a second or less. And when there's there are, I think, certain colors across the board that are generally not as well accepted. Color combinations, I'm sure we could probably figure out a few of them, or like there's probably research out there. These color combinations are not not attractive, to 70% of the world, whatever it may be. And if you use those colors and people tend to not like them, they're just going to keep scrolling. No one's going
to look at it.
And if you made your business those colors, I'm sorry, but there's a lot more to think about, and we're literally just talking about colors. We're not talking about logo design. We're not talking about how you lay out the text in the graphic or
we're just straight talking about colors.
Yeah.
And if I'm scrolling through Facebook and there's something that's pastel colored, and then the very next thing is like bright orange, what do you think I'm going to look at? So, it's
the bright orange.
There's so much
to clarify, right?
Huh?
The bright orange.
Yes. Yeah. So there's obviously a purpose for every color out there. You could use anything you wanted whenever you wanted, and you could make it work.
Mm-hmm.
These are just things that bother me. So people might disagree with me, and that's 100% fine. There's also research out the wazoo about different color theory and
what
how
different colors mean,
red
what
makes people hungry. Yeah, like black makes people angry.
Yeah.
Yellow makes people happy. Like, okay, that's super great, but what do you got if you got red, aggressive, and yellow, happy? Like,
they're gonna attack
that doesn't go together.
They're gonna attack you, but they're gonna be smiling while they do it.
So it's fascinating. I could spend hours, days reading about it. I just shoot for the best sometimes.
Yeah.
And a lot of times too, like with breast cancer related things, they picked a color and they ran with it. Like, I don't know at what point someone decided pink was the color, but it has a whole
meaning associated with it.
Like it's a whole movement basically. Like,
I mean, think back, like, I don't know the history of it, but it's so weird to think about. Obviously all these different cancers and different diseases have different colors for their ribbons and things, but like, who decided breast cancer was pink?
Right, somebody at some point.
What if like today breast cancer awareness was green? Like, that'd be just so weird.
So strange because forever
it's been pink.
It's been pink, but
so there
are times and places for
Yeah.
Every color. And like Tiffany blue is probably one of the most iconic colors there is.
Mm-hmm.
If a different company tried to use a similar color, would that go well? Or would people automatically confuse them with this? Like, should you stay away from it? Should you try and use it to imitate that and maybe get your brand noticed? Like,
yeah. I mean, that just speaks to the power of choosing a right color.
Yeah.
And why you should rely on people who are in this field to, whether you consult with them or hire them, whatever it may be, when you are thinking about redesigning your logo or rebranding or starting from scratch, that put some thought into it. And it's not just, hey, I like blue in my case. And like the Tiffany blue you mentioned, like, it's such a widely recognized color now. There's firearm manufacturers that put Tiffany blue on their guns, and it appeals to the female audience that likes Tiffany blue.
Yeah.
And it 100% works. I know people who have bought that color or that specific gun because of the Tiffany blue, because they associate it with being cool or whatever. They like it. So
there are some brands that are like that. Like, to me, Nike is orange.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have on a Nike shirt, obviously that's just
It's
something. But like the shoe boxes that Nike shoes come in are orange.
Mm-hmm.
And so in my head, that's always what I'm going to associate with Nike.
Yeah.
There are just certain, and those are obviously like very large brands and very established brands.
But you can do that locally, whether you're a local business or whatever business, no matter what size you are, you should be striving to have
be that
recognizable.
recognizable.
Have that type of brand recognition, whether it's just in your community or just the Midwest, whatever it may be. And it all starts with the colors and your logo. And that's why you specifically focus on branding a lot with a lot of our new clients. So we do, if you want to talk about the different branding services that we offer, everything from like logo design.
New logo design.
We can break it down into specific things, or we can do the whole branding package. But
right, and that includes your color choices, your font choices, your imaging choices, the effects that you'll use on images, the different. I mean, this would be more your expertise, but like different tone of voice for your brand. Like we can start with you from the ground up and help you get on the right path towards having a brand that's memorable and recognizable. Like,
and we provide all of that, like the construction company, we provided a full logo kit, a brand kit for, logos. You get a horizontal logo like this one. I always struggle in trying to point to this freaking banner. A horizontal logo like that. We also have a stacked vertical logo, and then we also just have the HD icon, and then you get all of that. Plus you get the color codes for the light blue, the dark blue. You don't need a color code for black, but if it was a shade of gray, like we provide all of that in the brand kit for you. And whether you're starting from scratch, you're starting a new business, or you're listening to this and like, wow, our branding looks like crap, we need to redo something.
And I think there are a lot of people who probably have businesses that are like, I started this business in my house because I'm good at this particular skill, and I've started a business, and I ordered a business card from Vistaprint, but like they don't have maybe a logo, they don't have colors. They just kind of go with the flow, which is fine when you're first starting out if you want. But if you want to grow and have people remember you, that's something you could think about. Just
it's worth the investment.
It's worth it, especially. I don't know how to explain. Like, I know a lot of businesses who have rebranded 6 times in 6 years. Mm-hmm. So not only does that hurt you, well, because you have to reorder a logo and you have to reprint everything that you've ever printed your current logo on, but no one's going to remember your name and your brand if you keep changing it. Yep. So all of this stuff is stuff, I just said stuff twice, that's embarrassing. All of this is what you need to think about ahead of time before committing.
And that's where we come in.
And it was hard for me before I was teamed up with you to come up with just a name for my business, because I knew that once I picked it, that's it. Yeah. Like I was committing to that forever.
Yep.
There wasn't going to be a changing my mind and changing the name next year.
And that's what I think getting outside perspective can help a whole lot, because whether it's the color or the name, we don't usually do anything with naming of businesses, but if you came to us with like, hey, I have this business that's starting, I just, in terms of what would look best on a logo or social media profiles, whatever, and like choose between a couple of different names, I'll give you my opinion by far. But like in terms of you don't know which colors you should pick for your company, and it's like, well, yes, you can come to us and be like, my favorite color is blue. I do want some type of blue, but it doesn't just need to be the bold in your face blue.
Yeah.
That's where we can work with you to decide which colors are best for you. And you might be stuck in like, I don't know what to do. which to choose, and that's where we can provide that outside input, and that, obviously listening to Kaylee, she knows what she's talking about. That's the perspective that we can provide, because you're thinking about all of the other different things associated with your business, and especially when you're starting a business, of getting the legal side of things figured out, the services ironed out, the pricing, all this other stuff that goes into creating a business.
That
you
nobody really thinks about how important
you don't
this
want
is.
this to fall behind, and then you're 6 months in and be like, wow, I should have put more thought, or I should have hired somebody to do our logo or pick our colors and do a brand kit for us. So
and
that's
not some. I have had many clients who are like, I don't even care.
Yeah.
I don't even care what the logo looks like. Like, I just need you to do it. And
because it's better than what they would do on their own.
Which is fine, but like, you're putting everything you have into that business. Why would you not spend the time to do it right? I don't know. That kind of throws me off. But I also have to put in there, because I told you I would, a little note for people who may not know this, that colors on the computer and colors on your phone look different than when they are printed out.
Yes. Don't forget to mention that.
I
forgot to tell you.
That should have probably gone in way earlier.
Yeah.
I just remembered. I should have wrote. See, this is what happens when I don't write things down. But I've had clients who, especially with like more fluorescent or neon type colors, they look fantastic on the computer. They are bright. They are like crisp. And then when you print them, especially like fluorescent green, and then you print it and it looks like puke.
Yeah.
It's the exact same color.
Yeah.
It's the same color code, but the way the computer works in RGB is the color is made by red, green, and blue. When you print it, for anybody who's ever put ink in a printer, you got CMYK.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be the exact same color. I'm looking at it on my screen. I print it off here. It looks completely different. So that's also something you have to think about when choosing. I need to quit doing that. I'm going to make noise on the microphone.
Kaylee's still adjusting the podcast.
I'm not great at podcast life. But the point was, if you're going to pick these colors and all you've ever seen them on is a computer, think about that too of, hey, put these combos on paper and print them out and see if it looks completely different, because you might hate it.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And again, that's where we can come in, and you might tell Kaylee you want these colors, and she'll know right away, like, those aren't going to look good when you print them. Or you're going to have to, everything that you ever print is going to have to be on glossed over whatever, and it's going to be 10 times more expensive.
Yeah.
You can get bright green printed on your business cards, but you have to specifically get the glossy backs and all this stuff, which is always more money, and money controls everything. So don't do bright green if you don't want to spend a lot of money, essentially.
But that's just, it happens a lot with green for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah, it does.
Why that one stands out to me, but
I think orange is there too. A brighter orange.
Yeah, it just never looks as extra. I know that is not the right word I'm thinking of. It doesn't look as exciting when it's printed. And people have gotten mad at me like, why is this the wrong color? I don't know how else to explain it to you besides that is the same color. Yeah. So something to think about there as a complete side tangent to what we were talking about.
Now she's adjusting to my podcast life, where I always go on side tangents. But I think that will kind of wrap up. Should have maybe led with that part before we started talking about colors, but that's all right.
Now you just have to listen till the end.
Yeah, we might do a teaser about this and be like, tune into minute 50 to hear about printing versus on screen. But Kaylee, thanks for joining me. I'm excited to start talking about design more on the podcast. I will probably learn a whole lot, and it'll probably go in one ear and out the other as I continue to just be a terrible designer, but hopefully people who do listen to the show are in this world and can use the tips that you're going to be bringing specifically about different aspects of design, print, digital, web, whatever. I mean, we can talk about clothing if we want, but yeah, I'm excited to bring that aspect into the podcast on a more regular basis. I really think every other week is a good cadence for that. She's panicking, but I mean, she already has like 5 ideas, and that's how I was when I first started the podcast too. Is, you know, I had 5 ideas. I recorded the first one. I was like, oh, okay, I can do this. And then I wanted to knock out 5 more episodes. And then it's like, well, now what do we talk about? So spacing them out is good.
Yeah. And if anybody has specific topics or questions that they want to hear about, comment, call us, email us, whatever.
Email Kaylee at Harden Digital Design if it's design related. Because if you email me at Riley at hardendigital.com, I'm just going to immediately forward it to her if it's about design. So you can do that. Submit your comments or questions about design, same as we do about business and social media and that side of things. But to kind of wrap things up, if you do want to support the show and you become a subscriber at bit.ly/digital wrap up, that's one of the perks that you can get for being a subscriber, is that if you submit a question, whether it's about websites, social media, running a small business, or graphic design, we'll answer your question on the very next episode. Given that you don't submit it on a Wednesday morning and we record, like, there's a little time lapse where it's not going to be the very next episode, like Wednesday morning as we hit record on the podcast. We're probably not going to squeeze that one in. But the very next week episode, if you submit a question to us, we'll answer it on that very next episode. We'll give you a shout out if you subscribe, and if you want to promote your social media or a cause that you're wanting to support, we'd be happy to shout that out as well. So just a couple of perks if you do want to support the show and become a subscriber. Again, we'd really appreciate it as we continue to grow this podcast venture. We're adding new things every few months. I get a new idea and we run with it. So here we are, and looking to continue providing great content. Hopefully it's stuff that all of you who are listening can take away and put to use, or just give you something to think about if you are starting a business or social media manager, graphic designer. So I think that'll do it for today. Thanks again, Kaylee, for joining us, and we will talk to you next time on the Digital Wrap Up. Have a great week.